Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone who celebrates tomorrow, since there will be no live stream. So, and then we'll see. We'll see about Friday. We will see. There'll probably be something short and quick. Good morning. I still got to call you Zello. I like the name. I like, I like it. Good morning, Jacob. Good morning, Patrick. Yes, and you have a blessed Thanksgiving also. Deer, thank you, Sterling, for putting them in. That was the only big one this morning. Other guidance was not good. That's why it's down 4.24%. We had the old durable goods numbers. We'll take a look at that in a second. Good morning, by the way, Sterling. Good morning, Royal Palms. We can look at Oracle. Just remind me in a bit. I was actually looking at it a little bit ago because there was a percent beat buy that's going to follow through most likely today. Good morning, OD Green. Remind me we can put up NIO also, Sterling. Hello, Charles. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, Daniel. The UK autumn budget announced. If you have not seen a Prime Minister's question time, it is a great entertainment. Well, thank you for putting that in there, Charles. Good morning, Anissa. How are you doing? All right. All right. So, again, no live stream tomorrow. Nothing's wrong. It's just Thanksgiving Day in the good old US of A. So, what do we have? We had mortgage stuff come out today. Nothing much. Durable good orders. Now that's back from September prior to the shutdown. Good morning, Yosh. What is it? Oh man, could you type in your first name again, uh, please? I hate that these names are all screwed up. Although I did like seeing Zello the Magician. I really do like that. Initial jobless claims for this week, 216. Continuing jobless claims for last week, 1960. Nothing shocking there. Uh, although continuous jobless claims is still very elevated. We got the Chicago PMI coming out 15 minutes after the cash open. Then we have the EIA numbers and some bill auctions, and we have Fed beige book this afternoon. Again, nothing tomorrow, and the only thing on Friday is a Fed balance sheet. All right, so that's where we sit. There it is. It's Yogesh. 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 All right. Thank you again. Thank you for tuning in, Yogesh. So there's your Oracle. We'll take a look at that. So it's just a rotation. Now we got the rotation out of Broadcom, which has been on a tear the last couple days, into all the other chips. All the megs now sort of taking some profits on Google. You got Meta, and then the rotation into the other mega caps. So that's where we sit. But in overall, again, bullish tendency Thanksgiving week, which has played out very nice. We've had the percent B buy bounces. We're going to have to see where this week ends to see if we shift the probabilities on the weekly basis back up. Everything's positive except for comm services, and that's just negative because of Meta and Google. Oh, consumer defensive, slightly negative. Fed watch is at 85% for the cut on December 10th, 14 days away. Fear and greed. All right. How, with the market bouncing this much, is it still in fear mode? I am not understanding this. But I think their little stuff it's been broken for a while. But it's really nice to look at stock price spread. The little bounce here, going to be interesting to see if it can get back above 1,000. Other than that, Schiller PE back close to 40. Back close to 40. What else? What else? Oh, in terms of earnings, I mean, there's a couple other things, but I don't know how to pronounce those. We had John Deere. And nothing tomorrow, of course, and then not really anything on Friday. So we don't have to worry. I already had Oracle up there. I said I was looking at it. There you go. Why don't we just start there? Why don't we just start there? So Oracle still on a daily basis has shifted the probability. Still watching to see where this week closes. The key thing is 203.93. I'm still going to be watching for rollover plays. But not surprised to see a bounce here. And there's a percent beat buy setup. It's gapped beyond where you can just enter it. And the first key target was the 200 and the declining rotation zone. And there's a gap left behind right there. So roughly the area of 210.69. Could it go beyond that? Sure. But again, I'll be watching for another potential rollover play. It's just very oversold. Divergences down here. So I didn't check their CDS, credit default swaps. There might have been a little pullback in them to give a little breathing room. So that's where we sit. But clearly, the trend is still down. We just have a possible short-term bottoming formation. Again, if it continues to bounce, two key levels to watch is about 222. If it can get back there, then about 232. So that's all that's going on with Oracle. In terms of the S&P, the S&P has moved slightly above the 62.5, which was the next key target. To hit that yesterday. Going to, again, be watching where it closes today. If it closes above the 62.5, we still have the probability shifted that we could to tick off the 75 and the 87.5. The next target for me is 68.45. If it closes above the 62.5. Key support for me is back at 67.24. That's a major support. Minor support, I'm watching the 4-hour rotation zone. Minor, I'm watching the 67.87 area, and if it drops below that, about 67.73 to about 67.70. That's where I'm watching. I'm just keeping an eye on the 4-hour rotation zone. If we did get, I don't know, out of nowhere momentum, the bottom of the rotation zone and major supports closer to 67.25 to 67.30 area. The NASDAQ, against the significant trend line, back to the 50% harmonic in the potential rollover zone. Does that mean it's got to roll over? No, but I'm watching to see if we get any topping patterns up here. 25,275 is the next key target on any push up, and then it would be 25,463.50. And that's a key tipping point on the harmonics to shift higher. Other than that, I'm also watching the 4-hour rotation zone. Top of the 4-hour rotation zone coming in about 25, just 25,080. And the bottom coming in closer to 24,920. But I'd be looking at 24,955 if we did break down today. Other than that, if we can shift the probability, the next target is 25,463.50. If we close above there, it would also be a significant break of the trend line, and then I'd be looking for the 75 and the 87.5 harmonic. We're not there yet. We'll check on that on potentially Friday. The Dow is also still the double is not technically invalidated. Again, not surprised to see the strong rally here. 47.5 is a key tipping point for the continued bounce back. In the potential rollover zone, key support coming in just above 47K. Not going to spend a lot of time on the Dow. The Russell, again, that closed just above the 62.5. So that's technically flipped the probabilities. So 25 is the next, not 25, 2,500. On a pullback, going to be watching this 4-hour rotation zone. Because remember, we got to buy all the crappy, unprofitable Russell companies because they're going to cut rates one more time. Whereas if they weren't going to cut rates, it was going to go to zero. So I just got to update this for later. There we go there. Now the VIX, already back below 18. Already back below 18, which is really nice because be watching. The other reason I'm watching to see if we tip more probabilities higher is because then I can be a little more patient for hedges. for hedges, but we're already getting back below that 18 level. The DAX. Not much to talk about here. Back to the rotation zone and filling the gap already. If it does continue higher, 23,927. I'm going to be watching this area about 23,500. If we do break below there and close below there, I'll be watching for another breakdown play. Yields dropping briefly below 4 and now reversing. There might be a percent beat buy setup going into the end of the week. By the way, since there's no trading tomorrow, it could trigger on Friday, but we'll have to see how that sets up, and that's for a bounce play. Yield's getting a little overdone to the downside. Crude still holding. There's been some major buying pressure between about 57.40 to about 57.80. So keeping an eye on that. Nothing much to talk about with crude, though. Gold, it was a contract roll. So if you're looking at this, oh, look, did it hit the first target? No, because the contract rolled. Remember, you have to do your analysis on that contract. So it has not hit the first target. All right. It's triggered, but not hit the first not hit the first target. The first target based off of the February contract is 4227.3. Just wanted to clarify that there. What else? Dollar index coming back to the rotation zone and trying to bounce here. Going to be watching to see if this sets up a potential percent beat buy for the end of the week. Euro spiking briefly above the rotation zone and above this key 115.70 area, but now back below that. So keeping an eye on that too. But not much to talk about there. The yen just pulling back to the key trend line and the rotation zone, looking for a rotation back up here, unless we take out this 155.65 area. Bitcoin watching 88,500, roughly that area, to see if we break above there, looking at a target of about 92K for a short-term bounce. By the way, MicroStrategy getting really close, or sorry, strategy getting really close to the 87.5 area. Could bounce before then based off the bounce in Bitcoin, but still going to be watching for that reconnection. Spiders. These spiders closing pretty much right at the just below the 62.5 yesterday, gapping up today. So any rollover play would be to the gap fill 675.02. If it continues higher, next key harmonic 679.99. The Qs gapping above a key resistance area was 611.71, so that'll be the first level support. On a rollover play, then it would be to 608.89. The key level on the closing basis is 615.91 to shift the probabilities. Let's see what else. Yeah, CoreWeave, or also, yes, CoreWeave and Oracle have high CDSs. Charles thought the Dow and Russell had the nicest setups. I thought the S&P and the NASDAQ did. That's funny. Is there a scenario where you have high yields, i.e. over 5%, and 25 inflation? Because that's what the official UK think tanks has predicted for 20 and 2% inflation. I was going to say, well, your longer term yields, no, that's a little off, I think. High yields. Well, also the yields if nobody wants to buy the longer term debt because of the fiscal situation in the UK, that can lead to the higher yields, and you can still not have that high inflation, but it seems slightly off. We'll have to see about that. What else do we have? We have Nvidia looking to bounce back. Nvidia broke back down. This 170.59 was the next minor little harmonic. That was also Nvidia has a percent beat buy on a close above, so it had to be traded pre-market pretty much on a break above this. But if it closes above yesterday's high, it's a bounce play. There's a lot of overhead resistance down in Nvidia into the hooking down 50 and the rotation zone. So in order to get the all clear for me, that's got to get above 187 again. Uh Broadcom again coming up, little gap down today. There's some very key resistance up here where we spiked to yesterday. Watching for a pullback. If it does pull back even more, first level is about 365, stalling out at the harmonic. We already looked at the Oracle. Tesla, which does have a double bottom. It's sloppy. It's a sloppy double bottom because of the double spike in there. But if it managed to close above 395.23, yeah, close up. Sorry, no, close above 428.94. I looked at the wrong number. 428.94. Targets would be about 451 and 462. So, Alphabet coming up pretty close. That next key harmonic, we're to top out 328.83. The harmonic was 329.05. Pulling back now. Got a couple gaps left behind, and this got very overdone. Cycles at the top, very overbought. So on the pullback, there's some key gaps left behind, but I'll be focusing if it does manage to pull back. The farthest I'd be looking at is 304. In the short term, I'm watching the 4-hour rotation zone, which is coming in just above 310. Meta, which we didn't cover. I mean, this is still a bounce only for me. Still not super keen on Meta, but would not be surprised. Want to see where it closed right at the rotation zone. Still going to be watching for rollover plays in Meta with a lot of overhead resistance, but this is triggering a weekly percent beat buy, most likely on the close today. So we could see some more follow through with Meta, with the key target being 655 area. Gold double top failed. Which the one that's, well, now we got to go to the other contract. It didn't fail, it was never triggered. This, we had a potential double top, which was never triggered or even confirmed. The one I talked about yesterday was never triggered or confirmed. The double bottom is still playing out. Remember, because you have a potential double top or double bottom, first they have to confirm. You can trade them once they confirm, but they're not officially triggered until they close above the or below the key level, depending on whether they're double tops or double bottoms. Remember that. So we did have a potential double top, which is now turned into a triple top and never closed below the base. Just remember that. Good morning, Heinrich. How are you? How do you generally gauge a short-term bounce versus longer-term bullish? Just harmonics? And I watch the rotation zones. So SoFi, right? This is why I watch, especially like the weekly rotation zones for stocks. Remember, doubles against the rotation zones are the lower probability. SoFi could be triggering a percent beat buy this week. Never close below the rotation zone. And we're going straight to all risk on again. What is Planner's Peanuts doing? Still trying to hold up here. It'll be interesting to see if this forms a massive head and shoulders. We're still in the buy the dip risk mode. Nothing's been invalidated yet. So I watch the rotate for longer term stuff. I watch the weekly rotation zone and then harmonics. Like for example, for Palantir, for any buys on this, the trend is still up. It did close below the weekly rotation zone, so that's in neutral mode for me. But on any buy setups, it would have to get back above 185.04. So this is not the first one I'd be looking at because it's already violated the weekly rotation zone. Whereas if you're looking at SoFi, this did not violate the weekly rotation zone. And the key level on this bounce is got to get a close above 29.28. So I've gone through my targets before. Okay, on the secondary bounces, like you got a percent beat buy, which would have been entered pretty much on the gap up open, but it followed through definitely with a close. So what would be my targets? The 50%, then the 62.5 area, unless there's something right in front of it, and I'd actually make my target 29.07 because this key gap open and this spike high reversal. But the key closing thing on the secondary bounce would have to get above 29.28. Got above there, that's when I keep any remaining position and then look to add on short-term pullbacks, with the targets being 30.43, 31.58 area. Again, those are areas. I watch for other key things around those. And then if it continues to run, to new highs. That's exactly what I do. You're welcome, OD Green. All right, that's where we sit. Hope again everyone has in the good old USA. Hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving. Sterling, enjoy your turducken. I know what we're watching today. This 62.5, especially on the S&P, to see if it follows through or if it rolls over going into the close. But we've got the bounce so far this week. Yes, happy Thanksgiving. There you go. There you go. All right, and I will see everyone. I will see everyone back. There'll probably be a brief thing on Friday, just brief, and then we'll have next week kicking off. Start kicking off December next week, so we'll see how December's going to shape up. I don't know if we're going to have the guaranteed Santa rally, or if we're going to get caught in this topping area. We shall see. But I'm definitely looking, if we get especially volatility back down a bit, looking for some potential new hedges. Just being patient. Thank you, Charles. We did Oracle. Royal Palms, we already looked at Oracle. We already looked at that. I said what the first targets were. It's this 210 with the gap fill area from the percent beat buy bounce. Oracle also, the key areas 222 and then 232. Very oversold with divergences down here, so not surprising to see a bounce. You too, Anissa. Take care. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. All right. Again, won't be here tomorrow. Everyone have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to everyone on Friday. Bye for now.